Alright, in this video I'm going to show how I installed some Ford OEM cab lights onto the roof of my Excursion, which didn't come with them originally. So you can see here I've got my cab lights that I've swapped out with some smoke lenses. But I'm going to show you what I did to get those installed. Now, in the interior, to kind of help understand how to get to the areas you need to get to put those in, the Excursions have the overhead console here. There's going to be one screw right here that we'll need to remove, and there's going to be some metal clips up here that we'll just pull down, and again some metal clips in the back that we'll just pull down. So first we'll take out the screw, and then we can just grab any of the edge on the side or the front. There's two metal clips, and I'll show you once we get that pulled down. Sounds like it's going to break, but it won't. So this is what you're pulling on to release. Right here, there's a metal clip that presses up into the opening right here. So you're not going to break anything. Sounds like you're going to, but those metal clips will just press in there, and with that pull down, it'll release. So we also have some electrical plugs in the back. You can see right in the middle, so right here, there's another metal plug, or a metal clip. So again, we'll just grab the edges of the back, and we'll pull down on it. Sounds like it's going to break, but it won't. And then the thing that the back has is also that little L-shaped bracket from the roof piece that helps hold that up. So that'll help you while you're disconnecting all your electrical plugs. Alright, so now I've got the electrical plugs. Oh, one more. One more. Hard as one hand, but alright, let's pause it so I can. Alright, so I was able to get that last plug disconnected. It might help to have a second person here with the cords. So the back is just hanging right on here, so we can just lift the whole piece off, and then now our console is free, and now our headliner would be up here, and also your sun visor would be mounted here. So after you remove the overhead console, you're going to go ahead and release this Phillips head screw that holds your sun visor bracket on. You'll take that piece down, and then also over here, your sun visor hinge area, these two screws will allow you to move the whole sun visor. And if you have a courtesy light mirror on your visor, you'll have these little electrical plugs. They'll likely be pushed up in here more, so if they are, just pull them out a little bit and then disconnect that electrical plug. So then you've got those items, the overhead console out, you've got your sun visor retaining clip out, you got your sun visor out, you disconnected your electrical plug. Next, you're going to have your A-pillar piece. So if you have the handles, you'll need to unscrew the handle and the top and the bottom, remove that, and then just pull the A-pillar plastic cover off. And again, the A-pillar plastic cover, I don't know if it's going to see because of the light. Yeah, right here is easier to see. It has these holes in the metal, and again, it's just metal clips that press into that. So just grab the edges and pull them down. And then as you can see, if you're pulling down toward the floorboard, toward the steering wheel, that'll be a lot easier on the way that the clip works. So now you'll have everything out of the way. You'll have your A-pillar, your visors, your overhead console. If you do have overhead grab handles, which I'm not sure if any of the Excursions did, I don't remember. It's been a while since I took mine out. That you'll have to remove those as well. So next thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to drop down your headliner as much as you can. so you can access. And one of the things that's going to happen is you're going to be drilling into the roofs, you're going to get a lot of metal shavings. So I'd recommend covering your dash area with a blanket or cardboard, something like that, to help protect it and gather up all the shavings. Another thing that I found that is helpful is I've modified a 2-liter bottle. So what I've done, I've just cut it almost in half, and when you pull the headliner down, what you can do is you can slip the bottle up above the headliner, and now that opening that you've cut out is going to be underneath that area that you cut into the roof. So it should help contain most of the metal chips that are going to come from doing that. And it'll help on your cleanup. And if you want, you can take the cap off and attach a vacuum to it, or just leave it on and capture it all. But that will help hold the headliner down and also capture all the shavings. So that'll set you up for what you need to do inside. But what we need to do outside is do some measuring. So we come up here to the roof. Now, the first thing we want to do is mark some locations on the roof, but to protect the paint and protect from writing on it, painter's tape, the blue painter's tape or the green frog tape, that takes easy to put on, easy to take off. You can go ahead and just run that tape all the way across your roof line, so from the passenger side all the way to the driver's side. And you want to start about maybe 3 inches up and go to about 8 inches back, and you can just mark that whole length of the roof with the painter's tape, so that way you can write your marks and everything. So the first mark that you're going to find is your center line of the roof, or your center light. It'll be dead center in the vehicle. So what you can do is get a partner or your tape measure, however you're going to do it, but find that center line. If you want to line it up with the grooves in your roof, if you want to eyeball it with the V groove in your hood, but you can take your measurements from the weather stripping on the side, on each side. Get your center line. So the next thing you want to do is you're going to mark how far back from the windshield weather stripping. So you're going to be back 3.5 inches from the weather stripping to the front of the light. So you can mark that. See, here's your center line. So this is going to be your center line, and you're going to mark the front of the light 3.5 inches back. Well, that's not going to be where your drill holes are, but that at least gives you some guide. So I've made a template on my light. The center plug, which I'll show you right here, is going to need a 1-inch hole to allow that plug to go through the roof. The side pieces will need, or the side studs will need a 1/4-inch hole. So I've transferred all my measurements onto this cardstock. Center line, 1-inch hole. Measured from the center line out 1.75 inches, as you can see, and then that's where I'm going to locate a 1/4-inch hole for the mounting studs. Once you've done that, then you can put this through your template, trace the outside, and so you know kind of where it's all going to be. And then, because you got your blue painter's tape down, you've cut out your holes, you can just line that up on the center line and mark your holes and then drill. So I'll show you, I also have my measurement that I've taken. So it's 5 1/8 inch from the weather stripping to the center line of the holes. So I think that's pretty much all the measuring forward and back and for each bolt hole. What you're going to need to do for the other measurements, the spacing, because there are DOT regulations on the spacing, the center lights, the center 3, are going to be closer than the outer ones. So here is the measurements of the roof line. So if this is your center light, you've marked that, you're going to measure from the center of that hole out 8 1/4 inches to your passenger side light. You're then going to measure 8 1/4 inches over towards the driver's side. And then from the center line of your second lights, you're going to measure 12 1/2 out to the center line of your third. So what that means is here's our center light. We're going to measure from the center of this one 8 1/4 to the center of this light, and then continue from that light another 12 1/2 to the center of this one. So that gives your proper spacing. Now, one of the things that you need to be aware of on the drilling of the holes is this template is for the Ford OEM style, and you can see the plug faces straight down, it's all lined up, and that is going to work perfectly. And let me show you the difference between an OEM and an aftermarket, which usually comes with the smoked or the clear. So this is the difference. You can see that the aftermarket is angled facing forward, and the Ford OEM is facing straight up, so you can see that hole goes straight down. Well, this hole is going to be angled, so when we put the bulb in, instead of going straight down, that bulb hole, here, hold on a second, that hole is actually going to be a little bit further back. So as this OEM fits perfectly in the template, you can see it fits perfectly in the template there, holes line up perfect. If I use these same measurements for an aftermarket, hold on one second. That hole actually is a little bit too forward, so you'd have to adjust it back a little bit, make it more of an oval to clear that plug. So you got to be very careful if you're taking these measurements to what light housing you're using. Alright, so let's go back in and look at the roof. Alright, so you can see that the reason for the measurements, 3 1/2 inches back to the front and here, is you've got this front support channel that goes across, and you need to be back far enough to be able to clear that. So if you wanted to, you actually could go forward just a little bit more, but you can see that it gets pretty close up here. Alright, so the next is the wiring. Now I got an OEM kit that had the wiring and the plugs and the light housings. So you can see that it's just a factory Ford plug that plugs in. It's got the wiring loom, and all of them are connected. I've already added the wiring loom to the existing wiring for some other things that the Ford had, so it's already all combined. But this wiring harness would run all the way down to the right passenger side, down the A-pillar, and then hook in underneath the kick panel over here. So if you have a Ford OEM harness, you're going to have this harness. This is the second one that I have. But this harness is going to have an OEM plug on it, and it should plug right in to an existing. If you have to, and you have this, you can unpin these connectors and pin it into the existing. But your wiring is kind of up to you on how you want to do it. The F-250s and 350s I know have those plugs. Excursions, I didn't take the time to play around with it because I tied it into my overhead console, and I'll show you that right now. So the overhead console does have a light circuit that comes on with the running lights. So instead of running it all the way down into the kick panel, I wanted to just tie it in up here, and I didn't want to do extra wiring and extra plugs to have another connector. So I actually took the existing connector and I added a couple more of these pins into this connector and into the other connector here. So this black pink and black white, I added that circuit, tied it into this, and you can see over here I tied it into the existing running light and ground circuit of the overhead console. So I'm getting my power for my lights from the overhead console, and I'm doing it through the existing Ford plug just by adding a couple of pins. But if you don't want to run your wiring down on the kick panel for your Excursion, you can tie it up into the top. You just have to tap in another release plug or something, however you want to do it. But there is the availability up there. And it ties into, you see on the heater controls right here, the heater controls are backlit, so that's where I'm getting it. And it's going to be this light right here. The black is the ground, obviously, and then the light blue with the red tracer is the power for that. So that's where I'm getting my power for the cab lights. So once you get the holes drilled, you can see also I've now spray painted the hole. I taped the bottom, spray painted. I created a template up top so I wasn't overspraying. Sprayed the top for the cut area and then covered the top so it wouldn't spray through. Sprayed the bottom to prevent rust. So then it's just placing the light in, putting the bolts in. Again, if you have your headliner in, you're going to be doing that from underneath, just kind of working it in. But that's how I've got all of mine connected and wired up. So it's worked out great for me. I love it. Gives it a good look, and it's been a fun little add-on. Thanks FordTrucks.com for giving the information on how to do this, and enjoy your modification. That's it. I think I got a few people that are interested in what else I got going on my roof. So here's just a little Easter egg for you. The front one is a aftermarket Dodge LED cab light, and it actually houses my GPS unit for my navigation. So what I did is I hollowed out the back of the light, installed my GPS unit through the roof, so that way I'm not running it through the windowsills and up through the windshield. The light actually still works, so that's tied into the circuit as well. Next is my scanner connector, and then back my CB antenna connector, and right now just my antennas are off. But this is what we have on the inside. I've got my, there we go, my GPS and Dodge light wiring there. And then you can maybe see it, scanner connector, and then my CB connector. So that's the extras that I have.